Welcome, Monica. Hi. Thank you so much for being here. So, Monica is a culinary artist, chef, and scientist who is based in Berlin, like Marco and I. She's had over 15 years of experience in recipe and concept development, which is amazing. And she has a really cool background that includes a PhD in molecular biology and also biochemistry. Wow. And Monica is, of course, the founder of Roots Radicals, which I'm sure that she'll introduce a little more. But Roots Radicals is a zero waste food company in Berlin that's focusing on a daily canteen plate. So that includes seasonal, organic, and local food options. Roots Radicals is also offering things like event catering and also food preservation services, which is also super cool. There are workshops that people can attend if you're in Berlin. And yeah, we invited Monica to share her project and experience with you because Roots Radicals is a really, really great example of a circular food system that's tackling or taking a more holistic approach to tackling food waste, and also our disconnection from food. So, no more eating in front of Netflix. We're very disconnected from our food, and Monica wants to reconnect us. So, yeah, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Monica if you want to say a few words. And yeah, all of you can start preparing any questions that you might have for her.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer and Marco, for having me. I'm very happy to be here and maybe inspiring one or two of you into some new ideas or just find some ways of inspiration in your own projects, no? Thank you also for that intro. So yes, I am the founder of Roots Radicals. I founded the company in 2019 in Berlin. And I think for me, it was much about who I am and my values and what I wanted to bring to the world. So I was really looking to represent my purpose in what I wanted to do rather than thinking about what was the wave or the trend. It just turned out to work out nicely in that regard. But yes, I think for me, there were a few things that I understood when I was in the world of cuisine and cooking through restaurants and various experiences, including making my own bread and doing a lot of fermentation, that there was a moment when we really get into doing these things, bread or your own hot sauce or any of these things, that you somehow connect to food differently, no? The way you eat the plate that has that sauce, or the way you eat that bread, or the butter that you put on the bread suddenly starts having a different meaning. And I find that in human culture, we've really, really gotten into a place of disconnect right now, but that it's a very rich culture, no? There's a lot of ancestral knowledge that goes throughout respecting produce and also through food, creating recipes that represent the culture, no? And many of these of those times, these foods are preserves. So from wine, of course, but also to kimchi and sauerkraut and tepache in Mexico and all of these things. There's food being used in a way to elongate the shelf life, bro. So this is not really anything new, but that was the first sort of door for me to do Roots Radicals, because I wanted to do food products. I wanted to bring these products at home, and I wanted people to find some education in these products, right? To be the first entry to maybe being more open to taking better food choices, no? But all through the idea of being transparent, giving education and empowering. And of course, we have let me see how I can, we have a huge problem right now, as we all know, right, with food waste. And it was almost undeniable that I couldn't like overlook that. And I think I couldn't overlook the fact that is not only about food waste, but also about food insecurity. And that paradox can be really hurtful, no? To know that there's so much food that is being wasted, but there's so many people in this world that also don't have what to eat. So there's another way of respecting food in that regard, not only what's going on with the world and climate change, but also that, no? And it was very clear that the problem with food waste was a lot about the linear food system, right? That there is like a take, make, and waste, right? Like no one cares anymore. Like there's a problem in the land, from land to industry. The food products that go there, the size, if it doesn't fit the box that has already the label, then it stays in the farm. It can't be sold at the price that it should. It's seen as food loss, there's all of these things happening. So Berlin is a city that has a lot of possibilities of bringing more people in the same fight, no? So there are suppliers and of course farmers that but especially suppliers. We work with a supplier to make our food products that are basically bevare, no? And then we also work with the farmers. But we also wanted to look into circularity, not only on the sense of food upcycling and looking at kilos of what you can get from the landfill, but also from the farm, but also how can we in our own kitchen start utilizing everything, right? And stop looking at waste as something that is waste, but more as a bountiful source of flavor and opportunity, right? So here in the photo, for example, you can see this one that is a piccalilli that is made with cauliflower, but then we make a cauliflower leaf kimchi. And in this produce, there's also onions, and then we use the onion peels and trims to make salt. And with the trunks of the cauliflower, we make an escabeche. So we're always using, no? So it's a food production that is circular. And in my vision, it started all with the products, but I always wanted to have like a hub, because it was like the extension of this idea of education and working with the community. Tackling food waste also at home, that is a very big problem. It's not only about the products, but how can you empower people with some knowledge, no? So we also provide workshops and education. And we are also feeding a campus in Atelier Gardens in Berlin, where we give daily lunch. And the interesting part about that is that now both kitchens are always communicating with each other. So whatever is a byproduct that maybe cannot be preserved from the production, but can be used immediately for the canteen, can be used, for example, to make a soup. And sometimes there's things from the canteen. The canteen itself can have cauliflower in the dish, but doesn't have the time or the focus into making kimchi, but the production does. So there's always like a conversation there. I'll show you some more of the products and then I'll stop so that you can ask your questions. This is a ketchup, for example, that we do with tomatoes, and we use the peels of the tomatoes to also, like, we don't use the peels in the ketchup, but we dehydrate them, and then we have a tomato peel salt, or we have an apple pie filling, and then we use the cores and the peels of the apples to ferment them into vinegar. Again, here we use a lot of dehydration, so we have like a baked garlic paste, and we do a baked garlic paste salt. We're always straining our hot sauces, and then everything else that is strained is dehydrated and becomes also a salt. So every product has like a sort of sibling almost, no? And that's sort of like one of the challenges in circular food production. Fermentation is a really important preservation method that we use, I think, because of this ancestrality that I was telling you, but also because it uses no electricity, and it provides really good probiotic and healthy foods to us as well. So it's very whole, very complete. Just a little bit about this, if you want to know, like, I started investing my own money together with my brother, that is a co-founder. And then we did like a crowdfunding campaign where we actually got the bank loan. And ever since, we moved to this new location. And now we're getting ready for a second round of investment, because we are evolving our labels and we want to get into the supermarkets as well. so that we can have more impact, both in terms of reaching more people, but also in terms of rescuing more, no, and really setting a chain of a production that can happen in a larger scale. Everything about having a business is really ups, highs, and lows, and like a roller coaster. But this is now our beautiful kitchen. If any one of you is in Berlin, our plates are, as Jennifer was saying, seasonal, organic, local, vegetarian, and we continue to give education also to the people that eat by having a section called Behind the Taste, collaborating with artists and using, for example, our onion peels to also dye the napkins that we use in the restaurant, and always looking at other opportunities of collaboration. Yeah, and creating experiences of food, but also always giving the impact of what's behind. And this is the actual team right now. So I like to see us as a tree that harvests a lot of opportunities and collaborations. And I'll close with this. I'll stop sharing maybe. So, or do you prefer that I keep
Yeah, you can stop sharing.
sharing so I can see everyone too?
Even though it's beautiful slides. I already told you before, I love the branding. And I don't know about anyone else, but I'm really hungry now because those plates look super good. Thank you so much, Monica, for sharing more of that. And yeah, this whole project and company, I mean, I've reached out because you're approaching this very holistically. I mean, using ancestral knowledge, like you were talking about, preservation techniques to like elongate shelf life and keeping foods out of the landfills. Love what you said about respecting food, not just for the environment, but because there is food security or insecurity. So yeah, it's kind of sad that we throw food away, yet people cannot eat. Love that you're working on educating people through your workshops and feeding people through your daily lunches. So like, I 100% love this project, but I will stop talking, open it up to questions because we're running out of time. We did have a question already in the chat from Rashi. So they say, a lot of people say food waste is a big problem for business, and most go through loss because of it. The question is, how does one build a successful food business with zero waste?
The question is in the chat, so I can also read it. And bueno, can you say it again so I wanted to find it and read it, so was it there?
I
Yeah, of
posted
course.
there.
Okay,
It
a
was
lot of people say
okay.
food waste is a big problem for business and most go through loss because how does one build it? You mean like food waste is a big problem for business and most go through loss because of it? I don't understand, Marco. Can you maybe explain
maybe
what
I
that is?
think we mean like financial loss, maybe, or like it can cost a lot of
Okay. Now I get
money
it.
for
Yes.
business.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, if you don't plan accordingly, it is, you can get a lot of food in and it can easily spoil, no? Or people that don't have the consciousness of cooking, we have a pre-reservation system so that we can know the most exact how many portions to cook, right? And you have to sort of educate people around that as well, but it's for them to understand. But a lot of people don't have that, no? They just like cook a lot and then there's a lot of leftovers and stuff, and then there's a lot of waste. I think zero waste is always a goal, and this is something that needs to be understood because like it's a utopia as well to like become zero waste, especially if we're talking about I think a restaurant and caterings and events, right? Because people also have their plate and there's leftovers in the plate. But for example, what we do then is try and compost that, and we're making compost in the campus. So I think you need to find like different solutions for everything. When it comes to our production is very exact. And a way to really finding how to not waste is being really exact, no? So if we want to make 600 units of a product, we already know the yield, we already know the byproduct, we already know what we're going to do with everything because we already did them, no? And so it's the product and all of these siblings. That's a way of really efficiently actually not having food waste, no? But yeah, in between pre-reservations, we also have in our kitchen one person that is in charge of closing loops. And so once a week goes around the fridges to see what's happening, what's maybe forgotten, because that happens, right? Like we're also human and it's okay, but he can go ahead and look and say, oh, this, if we don't use this now, or instead of saying that, take it out and make a pickle, right? And then spreading the life again. So there's many things that one can do. There's also softwares that you can have to measure your waste. We are like definitely on the road of still making so many decisions around that. But yeah, I think the most important thing as well is to really be honest on where you are as a business, so that you don't go into this place of maybe greenwashing and saying that you are zero waste, right? When you are like really trying and also going through understanding that this is very hard, right? And it's a challenge and it's a goal. And how do we all do it, no? And I think it's really important to be zero waste, not only with food, but in general with like this, what you were saying, Jennifer, this holistic approach, you know, that we should think about zero waste also when it comes to taking care of ourselves and our time. And so it's more of like also be respectful and trying to be a business that is respectful in all senses, no? I hope
Yeah,
that
definitely.
answered the question.
Yeah, it was, I love that last part about maybe evolving the definition of circularity or zero waste to more, yeah, abstract, you know, you take care of yourself in there, not just the tangible food items, but everything that's in that system could be completely closed loop. I
And I
also
think I
really,
shared with you
yeah,
the manifesto,
yeah.
so you can share with everyone because that comes a little bit from there, no?
Mm-hmm. True. Yes, that's great. I will definitely share that with everyone. We had a great question from Divya. Do you want to ask it, Divya? I can also read it. Just, do you want me to read it? Okay. So Divya asks, how do you ensure a zero waste ethos in event catering, especially considering the unpredictable nature of guest behavior in terms of wasting food? Yes, guests can be very unpredictable. I will paste that again in the chat if you want to
No,
take a
I
look.
got it.
Okay.
So, yes, that's a great question. Events and caterings. Before we moved to Atelier Gardens, I was really wary of them. I wouldn't say yes to everything, and I would do only small ones because it can be a tremendous amount of work and uh, there is unpredictability and, you know, all of these things. But when we moved to this new location, it was sort of like a part of the deal to give caterings and events, no? So I was really resistant, but I said, okay, if we do this, we have to make it roots radicals, right? Like, how do we do it that it's actually coherent with what we do? So actually, I think we're doing something very special. Of course, there's clients and clients, but we provide, so every event that we do has a impact sheet where everyone receives and can read, right? It's on the tables, it's on the menu where you eat the menu, but there's also an impact sheet that says what's behind the taste. That's the first thing that we do, to try and bring, just more knowledge to anyone that is interested in reading, right? We have clients that book us and wants us because they know that we have this, and they even give us the mic because they want us to talk about what we do so that people, when they're eating, know that they can know more about what they're eating, right? So there's that is really important. And it's still also evolving. So sometimes we give like lunch and learn, and everyone's having lunch, and then I put it on a screen. It's a photo of a placemat with a plate and everything that comes out, right? Because we're still finding out ways of how do we actually connect more with the guest, because maybe an impact sheet, right, can be boring or not so interesting. So how do we do it? We have a festival coming up in June where I think we're going to have like a section of information because it's 300 people. And we want to make sure we're there if people have questions. So we provide that service, no? And that service, we don't charge extra. It's not like, oh, it's 20 euros the plate plus 5 if you want to have this service. No, no, this is included and mandatory. We do have, however, sometimes film productions of people that are just building stages in Atelier Gardens that don't care, right? They really just want to eat potato salad and schnitzel perhaps, and that's okay, you know, they're workers, they're working, but we still do it, you know, and then we don't deal so much with the guests. We try to work with the guests that we can. I think there's clients that are really nice to have that are some are already convinced, right? And some are still like here, and it's good to have that challenge. And whoever doesn't really care, we just give what we do. We give vegetarian, we give impact, we do everything. And whoever wants to read, reads, no? And then when it comes to portions and amounts, we take care of doing it like really precise. So we don't want food waste, but sometimes that's happened, and we want to, for example, start bringing vital bowls, so all the guests can bring the leftovers home. Like there's different ways, but we're still sort of like moving through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. We have time, I think, for at least one more question. So Isa asks, are there any foods that you're still trying to understand how to make better use of its waste? Do you have any problem foods, stubborn foods?
Yes, I mean, for sure, there's certain that are challenging. We have a banana barbecue sauce, for example, and it all started because we got these bananas from Gabbana, which is one of our suppliers, that were left over, right? And so it took me maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks to figure it out. Not the banana, right? Obviously, the barbecue sauce actually didn't come immediately. We first did a ketchup and it wasn't good. We packed it, and then it became this sauce that is actually incredible, right? Like it has so much potential. So I was just okay, but if we do this banana, we're gonna have a lot of banana peels. So what are we gonna do with these peels, right? It was very interesting to see that the peels could be actually go through tempura and, you know, could go to the canteen to be served as direct food, as chips or fried. But it was a tricky one, no? And now I think we're also fermenting some of them. You can make pulled pork, you can make a lot of things, but there are certain things that is like, okay, weird. What do we do with this, no? There's other things that change. For example, for the piccalilli, the cucumbers are peeled. So we used to just do juice out of those peels and make cocktails. But recently we took the peels and we fermented them in leftover whey that we had from making ricotta. And the cucumber peels turned out to be like, taste like seaweed, no? So now we like use them for events because there's not so much amount left to make a product. So this is a type of thing that then we put in events, in snacks or stuff, some snack bars, and we put them together with nuts. So you have like these cucumber peels that taste like seaweed in the nuts, you know, and mango peels, candied. But then we realized that you could actually also use the seed that is always full of meat. If you just put it in a brine for some time, all of the meat comes out. And we were fermenting the pulps to make also some hot sauces or other things. So at the moment, I have such a team, and we're so used to, after 4 years of really looking at everything with so much opportunity, that we're not like, I can't think, at least right now, of something that is, oh no, we can't eat. There's no way, no. Even, I mean, we've used the avocado peels to make dyes for the napkins, right? But I read for a while that avocado peels you could actually grate. But I also read that you couldn't, because it wasn't, it could be like not poisonous, but indigest. So I stayed there, right? So like, but there's a lot of interesting things whenever you get an ingredient. You always look at everything of how to use it, and eventually you always come with something. No?
Mm. Well, I mean, I think Marco, I don't know about you, but I'm wanting to do a circular food challenge now.
Definitely.
Super inspiring. I think someone also mentioned maybe composting at the end
Yeah,
could be, yeah, could be an
and
option.
so I'll answer this one happily. We have an amazing woman in Atelier Gardens. Her name is Ayumi, and she has a company called Daiko. That I don't know if you know it. I'm gonna write it here, but it's about compostable diapers. So it's also a circular approach, and she's incredible, no? And she's sort of consulting the campus into making terra preta compost. That is what we do. So of course, like any food waste that cannot be used, this is our last pursuit, no? To make compost out of it and then make the soil that goes into the campus. But many times it's also, you know, like you made, I don't know, rice, and results that there was the guests that they didn't want rice, right? And it's left over, but maybe it's untouched. So you can also make fried rice the next day, right? Or freeze it. So before composting, anything that hasn't like been eaten, right, or served, there's other ways of saving it before composting. But composting is definitely the last way of really finding how to close a loop, no?
Hmm. Yes, agreed. Thank you so much, Monica.
Yeah,
I
thank you
really
very much.
appreciate it.